maybe it's too easy of a question. I don't know. Would you rather put your money with a robo-advisor? Maybe one of the robo-advisors that has a history of making these sort of tactical moves. We'll do that. Would you rather put all your money with a robo-advisor or in a big bank actively managed mutual fund?
Robo-advisor, hands down for me. I like the progressive nature of this. I like the value prop they're bringing. They're shaking up technology. I think I'd behave well in that environment, so maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think it's cool. It's cool technology, progressive, and the banks, and as I said last episode, I love the bankers I work with, but they make enough off me. And I now, having said that, to your point, Ben, about the RBC Select portfolios, I think there's some great behavior biases that can be built in if you're kind of because I'm sure there's a lot of people just put all their money into one of those funds and just never look at it, right? And I've had a terrific long-term experience. So if you can set it and forget it, behaviors we've talked about many times will trump your returns over what the ultimate. So if someone can behave better with the RBC Select portfolio, beautiful. What caused the outperformance recently? We could speculate, but it doesn't really matter. So that's what I would do. Mark, what do you think?
Interesting. No, that was a good answer. And I'm glad you brought up those portfolios specifically, Ben, because my answer was going to comment on the fact that a lot of these massive bank funds are basically closet index funds at this point. And I think RBC specifically, might be wrong. I think there was a lawsuit at some point. It might have been TD, I'm not sure, but I think there's a lawsuit at some point against one of the big banks for closet indexing. And I don't know that they won or lost the lawsuit, but I think it's relatively well known that when you get to a certain size, like the RBC Select Balance portfolio, I think is north of like $50 billion. And it's hard to do much but become an index fund at that point. So from that perspective, those big bank funds, yes, they have higher fees, but if they are more traditionally really an index fund versus lower fees for active management, I think that makes the decision really, really difficult. And Cameron, you made a good point, which is these new technologies like Wealthsimple, the user experience is really, really slick. But from a behavioral perspective, it makes it super easy to just like go online and make a decision. And I think that's less true if you don't have that technology at your fingertips. So my answer is actually probably a big bank fund, but it wouldn't be like one of the sector funds or something. I would pick probably one of these big bank closet index funds.
Yep. So that I think that lawsuit, it was a class action. It was against TD, and it has been dismissed in a bunch of different courts, I think. I don't know. BC. It was dismissed in BC. Oh, it was BC again, yeah. So it looks like it's gone to BC court a few times and has not gone through as a class action, which means nothing's actually happened.
So Ben, you get to be the tiebreaker.
Okay, so
here we go.
The closet indexing thing, I 100% agree with, and that's actually what I was thinking as well. That, like, hey, if you can get a consistent equity exposed portfolio with like an RBC aggressive fund or whatever, that might be better than a robo-advisor that's going to do a bunch of weird stuff like add gold to your portfolio. So in terms of consistent asset class exposure, I might actually prefer the bank fund. Now, maybe not for me specifically, but more generally speaking, there's a paper from a professor at a Canadian university. I don't remember which university he's at.
See, Mark, he's got a paper to back up his answer. We have to up our game at the next time we do this.
Sorry, guys.
We need better game, Mark. We had to gang up on him one week.
Yeah, we're gonna have to collaborate. We're gonna have to collaborate
take
beforehand.
both our heads to compete here.
Yeah.
Was I not supposed to bring papers to this conversation?
No. I'm just saying, we're learning.
We always expect you to bring papers to your conversations, Ben.
Okay, so
some week we'll catch you.
There's a paper called "Are Banks Better Money Doctors?" And it speaks to, Cameron, I think what you were saying. So they look at an analysis of mutual fund flows of bank and non-bank mutual funds using Canadian data. So super relevant, obviously, to this conversation. High-level findings. Relative to non-bank funds, bank funds have lower flows on a monthly basis. They also have lower flow sensitivity to performance than non-bank funds. So investors in bank funds are reacting less to performance. Usually what you would see is after good performance, investors pile into a fund. After bad performance, they pile out or not necessarily pile, but they're sensitive to the performance. The flows are sensitive to the performance. And what this paper is showing is that bank funds flows are less sensitive to performance. And they find that that effect is largely driven by lower outflows after poor performance. So the bank fund does poorly. People don't bail as much.
That's the beautiful part about the bank's business, right? People are there because of the bank's brand. And like the Canadian banks have been around for over 100 years. So you've got that built-in loyalty, which just makes such a beautiful, consistent, like if you're, like I'm TD Green, right? Like you're green.
Yeah.
You just are.
Yeah.
Amazing businesses.
Yeah. And this effect mostly exists in equity funds, less so in balanced funds, and not at all in bond funds. But anyway, if I had to pick one, I'm probably going with a bank fund too, Mark. Same as you.
Nice.
Okay.
I can see
You know
the
who's not going to
disappointment
like
on your
that?
face, Cameron.
Jason. Jason's going to be furious with us for saying this.
Jason Pereira?
Yeah.
yeah, he will.
He's not going to be impressed.
Will. We should bring on our friends to answer these questions. The Would You Rather game. It'd be cool to have a guest come in.
That would actually be pretty funny.
Yeah.
See if we can get Jason to come out of his shell.
Yeah. I don't think that'll be too hard.
Hard to get an opinion out of him.
Oh, yeah, totally.